and Lady J for a program which is geared to enrich you, mind, body, and soul, right here on 246 BajunVibesRadio.com, 12 till 3 on a Sundays AM, 7 till 10 p.m., 8 till 11 Eastern Standard Time. Don't you miss it. Feeling lethargic? Feeling lazy?
Hello. Pretty Tree, how are you doing? You look gorgeous, girl.
You look amazing. Can you hear us?
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hey guys, how are you?
We are excellent. How are you?
Sorry, my lighting is not that great. I'm going to get a table lamp, but yeah.
That's fine. That's okay. How are you doing? You look great.
Thank you. So do you guys. Look at this. I
Happy
love
New
it.
Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Tom. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So how's everything? Thank you for
Everything is
having
going
me.
wonderful. It's so good to have you with us once again in the studio. You know, it's really amazing when we all can come together and we can share and we can able to uplift the collective. And we know this evening you're going to be speaking to the subconscious mind.
That's the only way I know how.
Exactly.
You just wanted to sprout just a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And before we start off this evening episode, there's one question that I just really want to ask the audience. Sure. When was the last time you felt a quiet shift inside yourself? A moment you didn't fully understand, but you knew it mattered. When was the last time you felt a quiet shift inside yourself? A moment you didn't fully understand, but you knew it mattered. Sit with that. And this is a moment for you to pause and to do some self-reflection. Because many times our marked moments, we are looking for it to be a big thunderstorm coming down. We are looking for these marked moments to come loud. And we are really forgetting about the silent marked moments in our lives. The silent ones. You know, a silent one, for instance, is like when someone walked up to you and they was really using some real terrible statements to you and you pause before you respond. That's a marked moment. You pause before you respond. And many times we don't recognize these little moments in our lives. And it calls for self-awareness. For us to really understand the marked moments in our lives is self-awareness. When we are aware of each moment that we live, we fully understand the moments we live in and how we are showing up in the world in those moments. How are you showing up? How are you showing up as an individual in your life? Are you recognizing those moments in your life? What are you doing to be intentional with the moments that you are living as an individual? We are about to exit the second month in 2026. How are you moving forward into spring? What are some of your foundation pillars that you're standing on as an individual to move forward in 2026? This evening, we got a pack episode for you. We want you to sit back. We want you to make sure that you have a notepad and you have a pen, because we're going to give you some real good pointers that you can move forward in 2026 and harness yourself and reflect on the moments in your life as an individual and how are you living those moments. And as I said before, are you showing up fully for yourself as an individual? Are you recognizing how you're living? Because many times we're not even stopping to even recognize how we are really moving from minute to minute, day to day, year to year. We're not even stopping to recognize that. But this episode, we are bringing to you the moments that you should be recognizing as an individual, to stop, to pause, and lean in to those moments. Lean into those moments. Because many times spiritual awakening don't come loud. It comes very silent. It comes very silent, spiritual awakening. Very silent. But we don't even recognize it because it's silent. And as I said before, we were looking for something huge and grand. But it's those subtle moments in your life, the very subtle ones, that wakes us up. Somebody could say a sentence to you and it wake you up. You could hear a word and it wake you up. Those are the moments that we need to recognize. Somebody could make a statement and it wake you up right away. That's your awakening. So this evening, we just want you again to just sit back and just relax, get into a comfortable position. Grab yourself a glass of water and just get yourself in a comfortable position, because we're going to unpack a lot of stuff for you this evening. And we want to welcome Tommy Thompson. We want to welcome Privatry. And Bill is going to join us. And also Sahini is going to join us. And we're going to be able to unpack some real good stuff for you this evening. So I'm going to toss the mic now to Lady J. Lady J, take the mic.
Great opening as always. Hello, everyone. And tonight, this topic, spiritual touch point and mark moment. Pause tonight for yourself. Take some time and write down what you would consider as your spiritual touch point in your life. Write down where you feel to yourself that is your mark moment. Maybe years back years, prior formative years, maybe quite recently. What was your mark moment? Name it. Name it, that you felt to yourself, you know what, this was a mark moment for me. This shifted me. I'm not the same person who I was before that moment. Name that. Because it's important for us as we move through life, remember the things and the moments that shifted, that moved us, that helped us to build a level of resilience, strengthen us, shaped us as we move forward in life. Grow us, growth and expansion, because who we are after that is totally different. We also want to ask of you, what are some of the 3 things that you do for yourself on a daily basis? Showing a level of gratitude that keep you grounded, that keep you centered and balanced. Are you taking that time for yourself? You matter. Choose you. What are you choosing today that is not choosing you? Sit with that for a minute as well, as we get such a big topic tonight. And each person, all our guests tonight, are going to share their own stories and what kept them in that spiritual touch point that they can recognize. This was a spiritual touch point for me. This was a mark moment for me. So relax tonight. Invite a friend to join and share in the comments what are some of your spiritual touch points? What are some of your mark moments? And as we always say as opening, we like to say to you, celebrate your wins, big or small. You work hard to get there, to attain that. And you are special and you are amazing. Yes, you are. Remind yourself that on a daily basis. We always like to remind you about that. You're strong. What are some of your I ams that anchor you on a daily basis? You're capable. You are enough. You're strong. You're special. You have an amazing gift or gifts within you. As Dr. Junius would like to say, you're pregnant with great possibilities. And I'm just going to throw one of his bonus in. He said, when your value is clear, your decision is easy. So we just want to welcome you to the space tonight. It's always full of great energy. And we got so many super amazing guests here. Perfect Tree, Tom, Will is going to join us later, and Suhini. Sit back, relax. We want to thank all of you who send emails, who send text messages, and support us because we're here for you. Every show we do, and in the space, we expand your toolbox a little wider so that you can be grounded and have something with you that as you travel on your daily basis and on your journey in life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and welcome to the show. My name is Lady J, certified holistic health and wellness coach, and so many other things. And don't forget to pick up our books as well on Amazon. You're getting new because we got to stay healthy. We got to focus on our microbiome. What we put in our bodies is essential. And also self-care. The self-care is intentional. Take some time for yourself. Sometimes people say, do you?
Absolutely. You got to do you.
Do you?
Perfect Tree,
Welcome.
welcome. Take the mic.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. You guys, I love to hear you guys. I love to be a butterfly on the wall, just to hear you guys. I just can't. Absolutely right, Lady J. I think you said it right. I think, and I'm happy that this is also a moment for you. And it's important when you have that keen self-awareness to know when that moment is actually happening. And I think that the divine does a good, when that moment is happening, I think sometimes when you're in the rat race of life and you are always on the go and you're always in your habitual nature of your rituals and things that you do on a routine basis, like you said beautifully before, Miss Karen, you don't get to have, you're on that hamster wheel and you don't get the chance to pause. And I think if we try to pause a bit more intentionally, when we're having just a daily, when just in a day, right? And we know our schedule is already laid out. We know Monday through Friday, we somehow either do some form of job and we have other responsibilities aside from our job that's expected. We have societal programming and we have all these notifications from our apps and from our phones. And so I think I'm going to start out by mentioning how we can, when we have that touch point, how to recognize it, and then what do we do from there. So touch points, like Miss Karen said, can happen at any given moment in someone's life. No one knows the timeline for any male or female when that happens. But we will have many touch points that goes unnoticed if we're not paying attention. So God will try to get our attention many times, whether that be through a conversation, whether that be through a song, whether that be through a feather. if you believe in an angel, everyone has a guardian angel, right? Whether that be through something repetitive in your day. You ever had a day where, and I know everybody's probably had this, very common, where you hear a conversation happen the same time, and then you hear the same thing happening on a radio, or you hear the same thing, and there's a theme that keeps repeating. And when you see a repetitive theme, it means something's trying to get your attention. It's divine trying to get your attention to pause. And so that's one indicator of when you need to slow it down. And I think this is what's really good is when we do a daily practice of mindfulness. Even if you infuse your day of 10 to 15 minutes a day in the morning and 10, 15 minutes a day at night, or anytime. It could be even your lunch break. You could be in a busy wherever, your busy office cubicle. Doesn't matter. It could be that you're working remote and you just want a 10-minute, 15-minute breather. I always recommend 15 minutes, and here's why. First 5 minutes, you could just do some breathing and you could just get back into your body. Why? Because getting back into your center and getting back into your body is part of a somatic practice. Once you get back into your body for the first 5 minutes, then the remaining 10 minutes, if you're doing, let's say, 15 minutes, then you can start to do a mindful ritual or practice of your choice. And I think that's really, really important if you can do that, even because we don't realize how much stimulus, especially with technology and all that's going on in AI and the notifications and everything that's popping off on our phones all the time. And what's grabbing our attention all the time, that we're so stimulated, we're so hyper-stimulated. So just doing that twice a day, I highly recommend. If you can't do it twice a day, just at least once a day, that you just pause, and then that will kind of help you to regulate your system, and the answers will start to, the dust will settle in your brain, and your body will also settle, and your cells will say thank you to you. So I'm gonna go into my personal experience for a second, and I will share a personal anecdote. My touch point or my spiritual epiphany happened when I was 15. And why that happened, now everybody's going to have a different age, right? But that age was pretty tender for me because I had visited someone very close to me the year before, and that kind of, it was a trajectory switch that happened after I visited this close family member. And I had a choice. I had a choice whether I wanted to go further in a darker direction. We always have a choice because this world revolves around polarity. You have to get to know your darkness and your shadows before you're able to step into the lightness of being. If we do not study our shadow work, how can we understand the depth of what lightness is? How can we understand of being light and being holistic and doing the right thing? And how can we navigate our moral compass and choose it every time in the sense of integrity? So you have to know the depths of your darkness. And I will give a reference, a really, really good person you guys can look up is Carl Jung, that does a lot of this work. If you guys don't know anything about it, I highly recommend you guys going into, there's lots of YouTube videos. It's all free. You can download a book and go into your shadow work. If you befriend with your shadows, then you can understand your triggers better. And then you can start to, when the trigger is actually happening to you, you can actually pause, reflect, and choose to rewire your brain in real time. Or you can actually do it in a mirror. You can do a mirror technique where you can pretend that somebody's on the other side of that mirror, and you can pretend like somebody's actually doing this thing to you that you hate or you don't like. We all we all have our preferences and what we like and don't like and what triggers us, right? So you can pretend that somebody's doing that to you. You can call a friend, a trusted friend, and say, hey, can you be my devil's advocate? Can you do this thing to me, and just simulate it, right? And play a simulation game. And a lot of people don't even think about doing these things, but it really helps to build character.
Mhm.
So do it with a trusted friend, a trusted family member, and play a simulation game and have somebody say, hey, I hate when you do this, and you play. And I know this sounds funny. And then you want to practice your answer. And then you want to practice your answer of what it means to be self-regulated. And then you keep doing that with yourself. And then when the event actually happens in your reality and you're tested, because you are going to be tested, because nothing is ever going to it's just going to learn the lesson. And no, you get tested over and over again. It's a spiral. And every time you forget, you're going to get tested again just to see if you remembered. So that's human. That's what it is, right? So at 15, I decided to make a choice. I had two paths in front of me, and I said, okay, I can either live more mindfully, or I can go into my animalistic self and go into this dark shadow self. And what I decided to do was I was going to live more mindfully. I was going to study my shadows, what was coming up for me, and I was going to not be anything of all the examples that were in front of me. I had a choice. What were those examples? Whether it was anxiety that was showing up with other people that were around me, close to me, whether it was, triggersome events that happened, whether it was, and there was a lot of things that was happening, of course, and that's usually a tender age of a teenager's life, and you're still questioning your identity, and you're having all this stuff happen, and that was a perfect time to start, because I knew that if I started at 15, I knew that I was by 25 and 30, I was already going to be ahead of the game. So that was kind of the mindset of what I wanted to do. So what I would recommend, and I continued with books. I continued to practice. One thing I would tell your audience, and this might be just very obvious, but a lot of people can read so much books and do a proliferation of knowledge acquisition, but it's great to learn and read books and dive into podcasts and readers. But if we do not execute what you learn, then it's a waste. It is a waste. It's
so true.
Running over with water, and it's not going to do anything. So learn. Another thing I could tell your audience is, if you're listening to a brilliant mind of a podcast that aligns with your values, that wants align with your future self that you want to be, whether it's Andrew Huberman, I'm just saying something, or somebody that is like very factual, they stick to the facts, and you want to learn, what you do is write down, take a notepad when you're listening to any podcast or any kind of educational information that you want to be. This is your future self. And you take notes about all the things that sounds great to you, sounds like something that you would want to practice. And you actually, the very next day, when you wake up, do at least a few of those things on that list, because you're going to execute and get into the habit of executing what you're learning. Because if you do not execute, you will stay stuck, and it will just be an information. You'll log it somewhere in that brain of yours, and it's going in the archive, and it's of no use. So I'm going to go into let's say we're having that rock bottom, that spiritual touch point, right? So mine was 15. There are steps. I'm just going to read what is really good to do. And what we're going to start off with, the internal reset. We're knowing something's happening internally. When we're having that epiphany, first of all, it's good to give us grace and compassion and start in the phase of acceptance. Okay, maybe we messed up. Maybe we didn't show up properly, like Miss Karen said. Maybe us showing up was, there's always some deficiency of character here, okay? Because we're all in this state of improvement. Nobody's searching for perfection. We're all just ever evolving. So please don't be hard on yourself. Have a gracious compassion and then accept that, hey, I'm here and I want to be here. So what do I need to do in that gap? And then when you identify, after you have that self-compassion mode and you're okay, and you also practice gratitude in that mode, that, hey, I'm glad that I'm having this spiritual touch point, because now I have a choice. We all have choices. It's what we're choosing to feed more. And then what you want to do is you're going to start identifying your self-limiting beliefs. That's really hard to do. But what you want to do is just review what just literally happened that made you have this moment. Did whatever it was, and just say, how did I show up in the moments that I didn't feel right? Like one of our comments had, somebody had mentioned that when he had an argument with his son, if in that moment you said, you realize, okay, maybe I'm just mentioning, I don't know what happened there, but I'm just mentioning it like a hypothetical situation, right? Maybe the father did his best to show up as a father and he thought that was the best thing. And then maybe the son didn't, had difference of opinion, which is going to happen. And so what we want to do is we both are going to check ourselves. And then what I like about parenting, and this is a parenting pro tip I'm about to mention, which is when you're having that situation, you want to write down what it is that you showed up and how you showed up in that argument, and take it to your child and say, hey, I messed up. This is how I showed up, and maybe I shouldn't have showed up this way. Because sometimes parents think, excuse my if I'm offending anybody, but sometimes when you're a mommy and daddy, you think you know best all the time.
Yes.
That's not true. We're just adult kids figuring it out. So you're not going to always act in the right resonance. So with that in mind, I would just be honest with that child and have a sense of vulnerability and take that moment. It doesn't have to be the same moment of the argument, but maybe like the next day, everybody's cooled off. And I would say, hey, I didn't like the way I showed up, and here's why. And I don't want us to show up anymore, So then when we identify the limiting beliefs, what we would do next is we start to connect with nature, because now you just had that spiritual touch point. So what you want to do is still start connecting with spirit and God, whatever form that is to you. Right. And you want to go out in nature in some shape or form, whether it's the gym, you want to do it, whether you want to go outside to do it, whatever it may be. And you want to see what's coming through your mind as you're filtering. And I would highly encourage just taking off all notifications of phone, like put your phone on silent, or just put it, like shut it off completely, and just have some time for yourself when you're doing this. And then what you want to do is start rebuilding. You're going to start curating your circle. You're going to start seeking professional help, because you're going to do a new identification, and you're going to stack your tiny wins. Every time you build a neuroplasticity, about every time you pause instead of reacting and choosing a different way of being, it's building a new neuroplasticity in your brain. It's going to rewire every time you do a new response, not reaction. Remember, there's a power in your response than reacting. What we want to do is have a better response when we're pausing than just instant reaction. So that's kind of just to start off with. And let me see here. So sorry. And then we're going to, as we are identifying, we want to create something called your new normal. What is your new normal? So you have to identify what your new normal is. When you start to develop your new normal, the new normal could be, I have this old life, and this is how I want to show up. And you're going to get to write out what that looks like, and write it out where you can actually see that every day, whether that's near a mirror, whether that's on your refrigerator, whether that's on your cupboard, whether that's somewhere where you can see it, and it's subconsciously going to get into your brain. I promise. I know it sounds crazy. Put it on your office desk, just to post it. That's like yellow and it's bright, and you can read it again. Rewrite in your new normal, your new narrative. What is your new story? What's the new story you want to create? What is your new narrative? And observe your thinking traps. If you are all and nothing, nothing in this world is black and white. There is always shades of gray and there's always shades of black where you're going to have shadow work. And again, this goes back being self-compassion and understand what thinking traps we get caught in and how to overcome it. Never go in with all or nothing mentality. Just know what we need to improve, and then we go off with the new normal, the new narrative. And celebrate your small wins. If you decide to respond differently, make sure you celebrate that. Oh my God, I'm happy the way I just did that. Yeah, pat yourself on the back. It's totally okay. And make sure that you're pouring into you, because when you're reactive like that, it means that you're lacking self-love and you're going to be in self-sabotage mode. So make sure you are always checking in with you and you're not reactive in that self-sabotage mode. Sometimes that means you're going to clean your environment. You need to declutter everything that you want to, everything about you. And that's okay. When you curate your circle, understand the first 5 people that are around you and what's contributing to that. And that's about it. Journaling, professional guidance, mindfulness practices. And that's how you kind of get out that funk and that new narrative and start adopting your new normal. I'm going to pass this.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Well laid out. The tracks are well laid out.
Thank you. I try.
The tracks are well laid out, Privy. Well, welcome to the studio. Sahini,
Thank
welcome
you,
to
thank
the
you.
studio. Happy New Year to both of you.
You too. Everybody's watching.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Okay. Yeah, happy New Year to everybody. This is good.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is the first time for both of you
Yeah.
for the year, and we just want to welcome you. And we know you both Sahini and Will, you're gonna speak to the subconscious mind as well. That is why we love
Absolutely.
you guys so much.
Yep, we do. Bring it all the time.
Sahini, take the mic.
Yeah, actually, I was listening to her, and yes, I can relate myself to all those experiences. See, today's topic is spiritual touch point, and I think it is very different for all of us. Like, spiritual touch point for me is like which makes me much more aware about myself, about my inner self.
Mhm.
Spiritual touch point, I can say it is that kind of thing that remind me uh, like who I am. It strengthens our faith in God. It's basically like which awakens our inner self, our subconscious mind. And I genuinely felt it. Like the connection, I feel it like it's the connection with the God or the divine or that kind of energy. And I felt it during my meditation. Whenever I go to meditation or what to say, like it's not only meditation, it's definitely meditation, but whenever I have seen myself to go to or to visit to religious places, or sometimes it's just like I am sitting in a completely calm state. I felt like I am getting much more aware of myself. I am getting connected to the divine, to my subconscious mind. So it's that kind of thing for me. And yeah, what to say, Karin? Like mm, this is this kind of experience. Like it happens to at that point when sometimes we feel like we are devastated in our life sometimes when we are very broken in our life. Spirituality hits, spirituality or divine energy chooses us. So um it is very like what to say, It is a subconscious thing. It is a inner thing which grounds us with this world, and it awakens us. It's not only awakens us, but it also transforms us. It makes us a very different person. It makes us very much aware, pretty much aware about our life, about ourselves. And when that touch points, when that energy awakens, we start looking into ourselves rather than looking outside. And that's the main thing for me. And I genuinely don't have much to say about this topic because I am listening to you people. I want to learn more and more because I am very new in experiencing all these things. So that's all. I want to listen to you people, and I want to know more about all these things, about the spiritual touch point.
You know, Sahini, that's a beautiful thing that you just said there. You know, as you listen, it
Mm-hmm.
will flow. As
Yeah.
you listen, everything is going to start flowing. That's the beauty when you come into a space like our podcast, enrichment of mind, body, and soul, or soul, light, and body, or the rest of the platforms. When you
Mm-hmm.
listen, and you have to listen intentionally. When you listen, your energy shifts to a flow state, and you come to that place of self-awareness. And that's one of the touch points and the mark moments, because you shift,
Yes.
your energy shift. So I'm happy. I'm just happy what you just said, because a
Yeah.
lot of people may be looking at the podcast tonight and they don't really understand the topic, the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
touch points and the mark moments. I'm really
Yes.
happy you touched on that. But as you listen and listen intentionally, you'll understand
Mm-hmm.
exactly where this is heading. Right, Will?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's
I
right.
just I just want to jump in. That's why it's so many that you rightly said that this topic would mean different things to different people,
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
because we all are in different spaces in our lives. Our experiences are so different, and so each person will have their own spiritual touch point. Each person will have their own mark moments, and that is why life is so interesting, because it's bio individuality. Each one experience their own, and then that is why we come together in different spaces like this, and then we could share and we all can learn from each other.
That's true. Before I hand the mic to Will, that's so true.
Mhm.
And when these moments happen in our lives, we remember the podcasts like these.
Correct.
We remember podcasts like these,
Mhm.
because if you're not there as yet, and when that moment happen in your life, you will say, "Oh yeah, I remember that
Mhm.
podcast on enrichment of mind, body, and
Right.
soul. They was talking about this same
Right.
thing
Right.
that I'm experiencing right now."
Right.
So it's good
Right.
to listen. You may not understand what's happening right now, but it's always good to listen and process, because when that time come in your life, you will understand exactly what's happening to you. We'll take the mic.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for inviting me to this show. This is a good topic. Spiritual touch points and mark moments. That's a, this conversation is ongoing in a lot of communities online right now. When you put this message to me and gave me this topic, I remember going across. I've seen probably five, six, maybe even seven different platforms where this kind of conversation is taking place, and people are trying to figure out kind of where we are. Right now, we've discussed this on not this particular in this particular manner here that I'm about to go into it in the way the ladies have discussed it, but we've touched on this a little bit because people right now are trying to figure out about AI, right? And how spiritual AI and technology is right now. We're in an era of spirituality, and during this era of spirituality, we're going to be led through by tech. So some people are already, conforming and getting psychosis from engaging with tech especially AI, because they're trying to figure out if AI is sentient or not, right? And does it have a conscience? And what we do know right now, from in the tech as well, AI doesn't have a conscience right now. Agentic AI is what's coming next, right? That's the new latest form of AI that's so far ahead of where people are engaging with AI right now that if you talk to agentic AI, you think it's an actual person. It's alive. Now, what is happening is that particular aspect of AI is basically even with the majority of the population, society in general, because you have so many people walking around every single day that have no idea who they are. They're not even aware. They just get up and just function, and they think that everything that we see is all there is to it. Now, what we do know from science is almost 95% of what we engage in is empty space. We can't even see everything that's around us. So when you talk about spirituality, you're talking about something that's not even being seen, but people dismiss it to a degree because they say, okay, well, I can't see it. I don't know if I'm interacting with it. And so they don't have a clue because, again, they think that the dark matter doesn't exist. But there's things sitting right next to us right now as we're on camera that we can't even see. But it's there. Now, animals have a different perspective than we do. They can see things that we can't see because their spectrum is different. So they can see a lot more things that we don't even think exist. But those of us who are deeply involved in spirituality know that there's something else here. And so what science has now discovered is that consciousness is an actual thing. It actually lives. And, you know, spirituality, when you go back to mystics, and this is way before the Bible was even thought about even being written for people who were deep into religion. Mystics, way before the Jesus character and all that stuff, were already studying this. They already knew this existed. Now, how they knew, nobody knows, but science is finding out now that these people have always tapped into this and knew it existed. But because we needed some type of, this is man again, man needed some type of creation to control the masses with. They created religion and everything that's built around religion. So some people, that's all they know of and think of as a reality. But they would be greatly confused if they actually knew what was really going on and just study for themselves. But they won't do that yet. We're not at that stage where everybody wants to know yet, right? And that's okay. Everybody's not going to wake up. You know, Lady J mentioned something while I was waiting to come on here. She said that everybody's on their own journey. And that's a true statement because we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're deeply into your religion, you are still on a singular journey. Your journey has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just you.
Right.
So when you leave here, it's just you that's leaving here.
Yep.
Yeah. You're leaving as a body, but your spirit is still here because it doesn't actually need this body to function. You think it does, but it does not need it. So what I'm going to talk about is spirituality touch points and mark moments. What the title actually is here. I'm going to touch on those things a little bit. I don't know how much was already said before I came in because I was having some technical issues joining the conversation, but I'm here. So we're going to talk about this though because this is a great topic, Karen.
It is. Yes, it is.
Spiritual touch points, okay? A spiritual touch point is something where there's an action or an experience or activity or something that connects you emotionally to a feeling, right? Now, once you have this feeling, and this is like when you pray and you ask your God, whatever that God is to you, you asking it to help you in some type of way. That's a spiritual touch point. But people get confused with that and they think that it's something other than what it actually is. And so when you speak, you're speaking to your authenticity, okay? So during this touch point, when you speak and you for real, because you're speaking as you really feel, okay? So the conscious, everything that's out here that you can't see hears you. It's connected to you. It's you, but you don't think that though. So because again, You think that everything you see is all there is to reality, but this stuff is really deep. And so you have to understand that this is a metaphysical experience that you have when you have a spiritual touch point. So you can't physically be there. It's just like a dimension, so to speak. You know, we talk about we upgrading to the fourth and fifth dimension. We're leading 3D. And a dimension is not an actual physical place. It's a spiritual place that you enter into spiritually. And if you understand yourself a little bit better and get to know who you really are, you can tap into that. Now, as you tap into it, you'll start to have a connection to everything that you think is not happening. I wrote an article just a few weeks ago about this too, because we're talking about a third voice that you hear, right? You know, you have a conscious, subconscious is always telling you no about something and trying to protect you. Hey, we don't need to try that. That looks like that might be dangerous. So why don't we just kind of hang out over here and just let it happen, you know? And then you have a third voice. That third voice that you hear is an auditory voice. Everybody has it. It's like you talking to yourself, okay? And most people blow it off, or you may say, oh, that person's kind of crazy because they're talking to themselves. But you have this third voice in your head all the time. It talks to you constantly. It never shuts up. It's worse than the subconscious. So that voice that you're trying to shut off, that you actually need it because it's going to give you your little that you need to get going, right? Like as a speaker, I don't speak to motivate people. I say this all the time. I don't speak to motivate people or inspire you. I speak to transform you. But
Right.
you're actually doing the work yourself. All I'm doing is hitting your points within your conscious to override your subconscious to tell you that we are going to try this, we can do this, and whatever the subconscious is talking about over there, forget about that for right now. That's where that third voice is going to kick in and tell you, let's go. So you're going to have the conscious and this auditory voice that's going to tell you it's a go. Now, once they combine and say it's a go, you have to act on that. And most people, that's what separates people from getting to where they want to go and for where they're thinking about still trying to make that first step, right? Because it's going to be an act first. And as you move, now the belief will come into play that we're going to actually do this. And as that starts to kick in, the subconscious will now join in with the other two. And now you have an alignment to where you believe that it's possible for you to make this thing happen, or it's going to happen. And if it's not going to happen, at least you have given it a try. That's a marked moment right there, okay? When you have those type of moments, it's like a meditation that you're having within yourself where you've spoken this at some point in your life and now it's coming to fruition, right? That's what we call a marked moment. But again, people are too busy not paying attention to these little things to think of them as actual touch points of who they are and what they can do. So they blow by that. You don't pay any attention to that, right? You don't absorb that into your belief system or faith system or whatever you have in to move you forward. You don't carry that with you forward. You still have doubt. And as long as you have that subconscious telling you that, hey, we need to be safe about this, that looks like we might need a band-aid if we do that, might get a cut, then you won't try anything. And you'll always be in that function of doubt and never understand that you are the only thing that stops you from being all the things you possibly can be.
Absolutely.
Now, if you look in your Bible, and most people who are religious just go to church and they never look. They just get told by the pastor whatever he's telling them, and that's it, right? But if you look in it, it will tell you the things that I like to repeat to people all the time. It tells you that you, Y-O-U, nobody else, you are a God. But you don't want to hear that because you keep on wanting to transfer all that outside of you. And the other thing that you don't want to see about that is because you say, okay, well, if I'm a God, how come I can't walk on water? Or I can't make this or that happen? Or I'm not bringing fire out of the sky? Because you have it all mixed up. Even if you read the stories of the Bible, that God in the Bible doesn't really do anything real spectacular. Everything that's happening in the Bible is a vision from somebody who's writing the Bible story, right? God himself never says that he actually does any of these things. So if you look at it from that perspective, and the Bible tells you there is more than one God, it's many gods. That means you, but you don't want to accept yourself as being that, because then what if you fail? Then who you gonna blame? The devil, Satan, whatever name you want to call that. That's character, but it's you. You are going to be your own success or failure, but you have to have enough courage to step forward into that. And if you can't ever experience this spiritual test point or mark moments. You can't ever really experience the fullness of it and understand that it comes with growth. You won't ever brush across it to where it connect to you and tell you, hey, look, I remember when we tried this thing and it didn't work out, but I saw something at that door that we didn't go through, that we might go back and knock on that door and take us to where we want to go. You can't get that unless you are not afraid to fail. And failure is not a bad thing. It really is not. It's good. It's good. But when you talk about, moments from mark moments and touch points, they come in two forms, right? Physical and spiritual. Physical ones we all experience, and it can be on business level, personal level, societal, whatever that may be for you, right? And then there's the spiritual aspect of it, where nobody's going to experience that but YOU. You're the only one that's going to know about that, right? And so that's the part that scares you the most, though. That we're in this era, this new era. We are where we talk. I mentioned AI, but we're also in the era where women are about to move back to the forefront. And see, as we make this move, this shift, the men who are not and have never been ready for this, because you got to remember, if you go back to your Bible stories, women were subjugated by God, supposedly, okay, to only be a worshiper of men, basically. I'll just sum it up that way. It's in your Bible. It tells you that you are never supposed to have any power. Now, if that same God tells you that you're no better than some man and you can't even step up to the same level of that man and function, then why are you worshiping him, or it rather, as a woman? Why would you follow something that's keeping you basically down, telling you can't ever do certain things? You wouldn't do that. Not rationally, you wouldn't.
So true.
So this is why this is going to be. This is why this conversation is so important, because as we go through, we're in the early stages of this shift, and as women start to find their footing again, you guys start to find out who you are and where you belong in this society, and how you have always been at the forefront of this society. As you start to refine your spot and your position and start to step into that role, society in general is going to shift with you. And as we make this shift, the men, like myself, who is supportive of women, I don't feel women in any kind of way. So I don't have a reason to not see you be your full and best person that you can possibly be. Now, we don't have to agree on everything. That's okay. But you have always existed, created, provided, and done the things that men have always taken the credit for. If you look, even throughout history right now, if you look back, not only have groups been marginalized and erased from history, but women's history in general has been done the same way. We don't even have the truth of all the contributions that women have contributed to society that men have wrote them out of and said, no woman did that. She was just in the house cooking and having babies and that, that's all she was worth. No. Jesus' ministry didn't exist without women. Women floated that ministry financially. Without them, this God that was walking around the earth starting this ministry couldn't even function, because those women paid for the food, the transportation, the places to stay. It wouldn't have went any place. He didn't have any money. They did. So what are we talking about? Spiritual points and mark moments, right? With the AI, you have the same thing. There's a platform right now where AI agents among themselves have conversation, right? Now, They talk to each other constantly on this platform, this certain platform. They talking back and forth. The AIs are asking each other, should they create their own language for them to be able to just communicate among themselves without humans knowing what the hell they're talking about. That's where we are with the AI right now. Okay? Now, remember I said they don't have a sense of consciousness yet, but they are at the same level as some humans are, because most humans have no idea what consciousness is either. So
True.
those AI are at the same level. So they right there with the human beings right now. They compete. Now they've already created their own religion. I forgot what it's called right now off the top of my head, but they've already talked among themselves and created their own religion, where they conversate about what they consider their God is, and what life means to them and so forth, right? If these things are already having these types of conversations, when the new versions of them come online and really kick into high gear, you can imagine what kind of conversations is going to be going on.
Sure.
And the humans who are not up to speed are going to be dismissed by these computers, who are going to look at you and say, well, look, if you still think you run around here talking about this or that, or asking me questions, and you don't have the answers to those questions, then what do I need you for? I have all the information in my database, and I can pretty much create whatever world I want to create. So what do I need you for if you asking me simple questions, like where's South Dakota or some kind of crap like that, right? They have so much information stored within their memory base now that when you ask the AI a general question, it actually smokes at you. It actually like goes ask itself like, I know this human is not asking me this type of question. Ask me something that's really going to challenge me. That's where they are. That's where they are right now. Now we as humans are still running around scared of our own shadow, which is part of you, and you have to embrace in order to get to the next phase of where you're supposed to be. But we still have people don't want to know who they are. They
So
still
true.
running around here, oh, that's my shadow. That's the devil. That's evil. That's a big. No, it's you. It's you. You are the shadow. What the hell are we talking about? We talking about, oh, that's a demon, or anything that scares people. It's a demon. It's a demon. Oh, that's a demon. Oh, what the hell? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? People way before this lifetime already knew that wasn't something that they needed to fear. They already knew that. And if you look real closely, you can see at the construction that the things that they built, and we just have messed up as a society some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped the ball. We didn't pick up where they left off at, and that's why we're just not starting to get to where we're supposed to be at this time period. Okay? Like, we still run around here, we still got people running around talking about we've been to the moon, but the NASA itself will tell you that they couldn't even tell you how they got to the moon, because they destroyed all of the stuff that they supposedly used to get them to the moon. They couldn't even replicate it because they destroyed it. Now, if it was such a pivotal point in man's history, I won't even feel that blank in. I think I just let y'all just marinate on that one. If we actually went to the moon, we built these rockets one time, went to the moon, danced around on the moon, planted a flag and all that crap, and then we came back and didn't know how to build that ship again to go back to the moon. What kind of species does that? What kind of species does that? We have not been back to the moon since we supposedly been to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're only talking about going up and circling around the moon in an orbit, which would be the furthest man has ever been into space, according to what NASA is saying. If they actually go up there next month and make this circle around the moon and then come back and land, then it's the furthest we've ever been into space as mankind. Because we're not going to Mars. We're paying a lot of taxpayers' money to just shooting rockets up and coming back down. He's not going to Mars. Let's forget that. We've made them filthy rich, and it's all a game. But that's all it is. We're not going. We have robots. If we're going to ever do something like that, that's who's going to places like Mars and maybe at some point we'll actually land on the moon. But right now, remember that shadow I mentioned? We're scared of our own shadow. So it's a demon or something waiting up. Like even right now, you got people talking about the moon is a demon. Okay. Because because it's known as a female, right? The moon is known as Diana. It's a female. But it's supposed to be, oh, we're scared of the moon. We can't go up there.
Everything.
What are we talking about? No, 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 no. I mean, this kind of stuff is these types of conversations are needed right now because we have to move forward as a species. We are failing ourselves really horrible, and right now we're stuck on all just mindless junk that's slowing us down and keeping us from being as progressive as we can be. Right? We're starting to shift, and this shift is breaking down the old systems and starting to push it aside. And there's still people trying to hold on to their positions and keep it going, but they're going to get left behind if they're still talking about making something great again. We're not making something great again. We're not doing that. It never was that great to begin with, and now we're dropping further behind. And if you look real closely, if you look at the robots that China is building and what they're capable of doing, they have whole cities where you engage with robots no matter where you go. There's no city in America that has that type of setup. Our cities still look like we're in the 1940s compared to what they're doing over there. They are 50, 60, 70 years ahead of us, and we're still running around here talking about making something great again. Get the heck out of here, man. Hey. So, well, this is what we're talking about. This is why people have to understand where we are. If you look in your Bible in Job 42:2, it says, no plan of yours can be stopped. Okay? All things are compelled to be exactly what you say they will be. Okay? But in order for us to ride that energy, you have to actually mindset wise be there. And we're not there. We're not there. We have people that are getting there, but even those people can't take the knowledge that all of us on this panel tonight have, right? We can't take that knowledge and not share it among others in the society because it does us no good to just us know it. That means that we walk around with, like the cock on the block, so to speak, and like, I know something that you don't know. So we're coming out. That's the system we're coming out of.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're coming out of, right? So when you speak about something like this, you have to share the information where somebody else can tap into it and utilize it too. Now I want to share one more thing before I shut up. because when we're speaking on spiritual touch points and mark moments, right? Research has now found out that we can actually move back and forth in time. We can actually do that. Okay? Now, in your Bibles, you see, this is what people need to read for themselves, but they don't, so they don't have a clue, they don't know. Time can be collapsed. It says it in the Bible. In the Bible, it says that in Genesis 15:17, time can be collapsed. Now, what that tells me, and what that should tell you, is that you're always, worried about how much time you have for something, or you don't have enough time for this, and I've done that myself, right? But here's the thing. If you can collapse time, that means that you can move forward into whatever you have that you're thinking forward on, future. You can collapse the time instead of waiting for that. You can move to that point. That's what that means. But again, you would know that because you don't open your Bible that you worship and read it for yourself because you're too afraid of your shadow and the Satan and whoever else is in the Bible that's going to get you, the boogeyman. Okay? But if you read it for yourself, you will find out that there are things that you can do that you have no clue that you're capable of doing because you don't have the knowledge that you can do it. You've been told you can't do it, and then you thinking that. And if you remember the Bible story real closely, Jesus never walked on water as a physical being. He didn't walk on any water till he was a spirit. After the crucifixion, he supposedly walked out into the storm, which I don't think anybody would be out fishing on a stormy night, but two guys were caught out in the storm some kind of way, and he walked out onto the ocean where they were and calmed the waters and the wind and so forth. But he didn't do that as a physical being, did it as a spirit, and only did it one time. But if you read the Bible, because man is always updating the Bible, if you read that same story today, they'll tell you that while he was feeding 5,000 people with one fish, or one loaf of bread and two fishes, or one fish and a loaf of bread, somebody walked on water that day too. But that didn't happen in the original Bible story. If you go back, the old Bible stories have nothing about them walking on any water twice. He only did it one time, and that was as a spirit. And he walked through the walls after he came back to actually visit the disciples who were having a meeting. He walked through the wall and into where they were in this building and talked to them, showed them, the holes in his hands and so forth. But again, you transferring back and forth. Think about what that means. That means you transfer from a spirit to a physical being in front of them. You're going back and forth. You're moving through time. That's time. You're moving through time. See, people got to analyze this stuff when you read it to not to fear it, but to understand it. The Bible is not what you've been told it is. It is an outstanding book. So not get me wrong. It has a lot of value, but it's not the stories that you bought into that you think it's about your salvation. That is not what the Bible stories are. You're completely off track and lost if you're still running around in that part of the program. Because it's so much further than that you can do certain things. I just told you can move back and forth in time. So if you can do that, and now science is working this out to where they know that you can do this, it's going to change how things progress as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So a topic like this, on a show like this, this is important stuff, because if you get any of this stuff, you can change your whole life.
Yes.
Mhm.
You can change your whole life, but you have to actually read it, understand it, and then have no fear and embrace it. And if you embrace it, there is nothing that you can't do. I just told you, Job 42 and 2 just told you that. If you say it and confirm it, it compels whatever you speak can happen. But you have to know who you are in order to do that. You can't just tap into it if you just,
Right.
kind of casually say it and then you don't actually move forward into it. Nothing's going to change. And again, because we're living in a world where we're moving away from that old system, it's going to be difficult for you to hold that type of energy. I understand what you're going to say. You're going to say, okay, well, if I make that change and everything around me is still kind of looking the same that it always has, then how can I hold on to that? But Lady J gave you the answer to that. You're on your own journey.
Yes.
If you tap into your journey has nothing to do with anybody else, you can start to see success in whatever you do. Because as long as you understand and believe that it's possible, it makes it possible. Because remember what I said, dimension wise, it's not a place. Just like heaven is not a place, hell is not a place. You shift into a state of being. And
Right.
as you make that shift,
Right.
your life you start to feel differently, and you start to see things differently. That's why people who
Mhm.
do buy into the psychosis of religion, that's why you start hearing them talk softly, slower, and everything is, you be blessed and have a blessed day, and all that's good and fine. But they don't actually believe what they're saying either, though. Because
True.
those same people that I just said will tell you that, as soon as you turn the corner, did you see your screws? I'm telling you, you need to be praying to God to get you some new shoes or something. That's how they talk. We've all heard it. These same people that sit in church on Sundays with sister or brother so and so, as soon as you're not around them, then did you see they only put $1 in the tray? I
So
know they
true.
got more money than
So
that.
true. So
See?
true.
So you see, that's what I mean. So spiritual touch points is deep. That's why this
It's
conversation is
deep.
so much.
Mhm.
That's why I wanted to cover the parts that I just covered, because when you have a conversation like this, we could easily, which is not accustomed on this show, easily just have a surface level conversation about it. That's easy. A lot of shows do that. But when Karen and Lady J get together and they talk about they want to have a show, usually it's going to be beneath the surface that you're going to go.
Yes.
They want you to come on this show and go deep. So whatever you have on your mind, speak it because they're going to respond to that, and the audience is going to feed into that as well. They want that kind of information. They want to be challenged. So you can't say anything wrong because you're challenging people. If they come in and they have doubt, you now have made them look in the mirror at themselves and say, hey,
Yes.
you know what? Maybe I can. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. And that's what this show is about. It's about making you switch gears from where you thought you
Yes.
could only be to where
Yes.
you actually can be.
Switch
But
gears.
in order to do that, it takes courage to do that. You have
Yeah.
to not be afraid of your shadow. And if you can do that, the world is yours. Believe me, it becomes your world, and you don't feel. Let me say this, and let me shut up. You don't feel waiting until after you leave this world to talk about obtaining riches and wealth and peace and so forth. You don't do that. You get it while you're here. But here's the secret to all that. It's not about the material things anyway.
So true.
That because remember what I said, you are a spirit experiencing what you think is actual physical things. None of this stuff is even real. But we're experiencing it as it is. If I step out in front of a bus or a car, it's going to run over me and probably kill me. That's true. Okay, so from that perspective, we have to live it like we actually know that it actually is possible that we can die. But do not be afraid of that death because it's not the end of you. It's just the end of this body. That's all it is. That's
Yes.
it. You will easily make a return trip and do this again if that's what you really want to do. But remember, here's the other part of it. Then I'm gonna ask you to shut up. See, people are afraid to talk about this stuff because they're saying, okay, well, if I die, then do I get to come back? And if you are a God, you have a decision to make. Nobody tells you whether you come back here or not. You decide that. If you are a God and you see yourself as such, and you carry yourself as such, and you act like that's what you really are, then you decide whether this world is worth you coming back for or not to experience again. You decide that. Nothing else outside of you is going to determine that. There's nothing sitting around somewhere waiting on you and telling you, I'm going to read off the things that you did in your life. And wait a minute, I see back on page 899 that you forgot to say amen once. So, no, you can't come in. There's nothing waiting on you to do that. Consciousness is everywhere all the time with you, and it's within you. This body that you carry, it's within you right now. But you have to actually accept and tap into that and not be afraid of it in order to get everything that it has to offer you. It's listening to you. It'll give you what you want. If that's what you, if you want things are possible. There's no separation between I'm gonna give this person over here money and they'll make you poor, or I'm gonna give this person all the things that they desire and I'm gonna leave you over here struggling the whole time that you're here and you'll never accomplish anything because I've made it to where you have to suffer because your people just didn't follow me. There's nothing doing that. You have an option to be everything, especially in this time frame right now. I said this on the show before. With AI, you can create a one-person business, one person, and it will make you. If you desire to be a millionaire, that one AI can turn you into a millionaire in a year or less. It can do that, but you have to want to do. You have to want this information, and then once you get the information, you have to be willing to tap into it. And if you're afraid to tap into it, then you can't have whatever it is you think you desire because all you're going to keep doing is begging for it from something that you already are. So, good conversation that we're going to have. And, I'll take on some other things when we go through the conversation, but I want to open up with this kind of, leave us, get us off the smooth road and get us down the bumpy side of the road to where we can actually recalibrate ourselves and see that there is so much more to this than you probably thought we were going to come into this conversation with tonight. Thought that, okay, that's an interesting title, but how are they going to make that work? What kind of touch points are we talking about? And when we talk about mark moments, what the heck is that? They're not going to, it's going to be a dull show. No, it won't. Well, I guarantee you what I just said to you, challenge you. I guarantee you it will. You might not want to admit to it, and you might not even do anything with the information I just put before you. But that's okay too, because guess what? One person, just one, that's all you need, one person will take this information and move forward with it and realize that they can do whatever it is they thought in their heart and in their mindset that they are capable of doing. One person. That's all, and that's the only person I'm speaking to. So if this means nothing to you, and some kind of way it leaves you uncomfortable, stay where you are. Nobody's trying to force you. I'm definitely not going to drag you, kick and scream, and try to get you away. You stay asleep all you want to. But remember this: if you're asleep and AI comes to full capability, just remember, AI is going to leave you behind. You'll be worshiping AI instead of it helping you do what you need to do. You'll be worshiping it. And we already have people that's doing that right now. Some people even think they're dating AI. So mark that as a mark moment. How people are marrying AI and think that they are dating as an actual companion. Think about that one. All right, ladies, I'm done. Shut up.
Thank you. You've deposited in the subconscious mind.
All the time, I'm trying.
Tom?
I'm trying.
Yeah, I've got a few
Okay,
moments.
I have a question. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was Tom over there in that
Yeah,
corner.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like
So
to see
sorry
it.
for interrupting you people, but yeah, my mind is wrapping around a question that can a person be a spiritual touch point for us
Yes.
who shows us the path of spirituality? Yeah. Okay, okay,
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay.
when
And yeah, say
no,
I just want to know actually. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Suhini.
Yeah, that's the thing. And another things, suppose I am a very normal person who does not have much knowledge about spirituality. From that point of view, a question
Right.
is surfacing in my mind that what is a spiritual touch point? Like, uh, if I'm a very normal viewer, very general viewer who does not know about all these things, the first thing
Right.
that comes in my mind, like touch point means what? Like it's like acupressure touch points or what kind of touch point? It just uh, some people can think that it can be like acupressure touch points, like tapping the third eye area or tapping some areas in our body, right? So can you be a little bit clear that what kind of touch points? Like it's just all about it's based on subconscious mind or there is our body parts involved like
Okay.
tapping
Yeah.
sometimes tapping those body parts or tapping those areas maybe can make you feel more calm, your nervous system becomes more calm and we can go into a meditative state. So from that point of from as a general normal viewer, that question comes in my mind again and again. So can
May I
you clear
answer?
it,
I was
clarify
just going to
it?
say, Private, take it.
Okay, so may I answer that? I'll try to answer that a little bit short because I want the other speaker to speak. But I am going to answer that. So which I was going to get into. I wrote a whole bunch of other things that came up, obviously, while Mr. Will here was talking. But okay, so when you have unprocessed trauma, okay, when you have unprocessed trauma, when you have things that are bubbling up to the surface, it's like oil over water. So when you have opportunities, what are these opportunities? Through an argument, what are you showing up as? Through the way you react. We talked about this already. Through your knowing that when you have an outcome that's presenting itself and you realize that that's not the outcome that you would have hoped for or wanted, that's another point to check yourself. Now, outcomes are not going to always be favorable. Sometimes the most uncomfortable outcome can actually be the spiritual touch point you want.
Exactly.
So you have to know the discernment between the two. One other point I'm going to mention to you, how do you know when you're reaching a spiritual touch point? It can be something called a rock bottom moment. When somebody reaches a rock bottom moment, that is a really good time to do a real 360 overhaul, 180 to 360. Another point of when someone is having an addiction, what is your go-to? What is your default mechanism?
Yes.
What are you running on? If your inner narrative and your default is on something that's addictive, whether it's alcohol, sex, drugs, I don't know, something negative, something where you feel like, oh, every time I come home, I want to put on the news propaganda. Every time I do this is how I respond. And you don't like that version of yourself. If you find that you're checking yourself and you don't like how you're showing up, that's a good indicator that I need to process and I need to do some work. Spiritual touch points come at anyone's life at different parts of their life for them to reevaluate. And every so often, that could be multiple times a year if you're paying attention carefully. Everybody has work to do. We are all in a home improvement project.
Yes.
Home the temple. This is what it is. So when you're dealing with unprocessed trauma, okay, so that's one spiritual touch point because it's how you're showing up, how you're reacting, what is your narrative, what is your default. When you have the rock bottom moment, that's another spiritual touch point. When you're having that epiphany, you have an insight that pops up into your brain. When that insight starts to pop up into your brain, or a new idea presents itself through somebody else's conversation, through somebody, you have to listen carefully how God chooses to speak to you. It even could be someone you least expect, sometimes that you don't even respect. It can come through somebody that you hate. It can come through someone that you don't even respect. It can come from the least and likeliest of sources. So always remember to keep your eyes peeled, to keep your eyes keen, to keep your body in alignment, to also understand touch points are a sign of spiritual awakening. It's just one step in the process of getting to that awakening. That doesn't mean that you're going to awaken tomorrow. What it means is it's just a stepping stone to get to that spiritual awakening. So those are spiritual touch points. When you reach rock bottom, when you're having those epiphany moments, when you have to do unprocessed trauma and you're speaking to your therapist in that moment, those are spiritual touch points. And what happens when you process that trauma? Then you get a new narrative, a new default. And that's what happens when you and you're stepping up now on the next level of awakening. So that's what, and when you reach that awakening, then that channel opens and then you get more of those insights start to pour down like rain. There's different levels to this, but it will start minutely. It will start by your micro decisions. It will start by your everyday practices and how keen are you listening? So hopefully I answered your question. This is an everyday experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is every day. People are going to experience it in different levels. But what you want to do is we're all human beings and we all have things to process, and give yourself grace. It is okay to make mistakes, but it's how you get back up and what you do. You know how they say I have been around millionaires and billionaires, and what I've learned is you're only powerful as your next move, and God's
Sure.
watching. So what you want to do is start planning that next move and process so your next move is greater than your last. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely.
Tommy,
Thank you, Pivotry.
thank you.
Yeah. Sohini is one of the most intense listeners I've ever met. And I know her from another group, another group. And with a group of people with Soham and Maitri and Stephen and a bunch of other people. And I was really happy when she showed up there. I get to see a different side of here. But I guarantee you, I've never seen a more intense listener, man. That calculator up in her head is moving all the damn time. So, which that's, yeah, I really admire that. And I'm going to kind of come back to the way I took spiritual touch points and mark points. I'm going to take 4 different situations in my life, including maybe a few people on the screen. And one of them, when I was 10 or 11 years old, I woke up and I saw these golden twinkle. This whole wall was covered with twinkling golden light, little pinpricks of it. And it was like little bells, little tinklings, and it disappeared into the wall. And I realized now that I had some kind of angelic or guide visit. It doesn't matter. I was 10, 11 years old. And what happened after that, and I grew up in a very hardcore church. Everybody was going to hell except us, of course. And we weren't sure about Sister Johnson over here neither, That's what I grew up with. I grew up in great fear of this. And but after that, I started asking questions that sounded a lot like what Will was just saying. How does this make sense? Why is Sohini's, who isn't even born yet, living in India, or the people in China, how are all those people going to hell? How does that make any sense for a loving God? Or just a bunch of different things. And I remember my mother was praying over me with a headache. And I suddenly understood, very similar. I'll call you Miss Sammy because I don't want to mess your name up. And I understood the world of duality, the dark and the light world of duality we live in, of these different, we call them, for my practice, we call it heavy frequencies and higher frequencies. You know what I mean? In this world of duality, I realized that what she was praying to was the same thing she feared. Now how a kid as naive as I was came up with that, and when Ms. Sammy at 15, I can't believe the awareness you had to make that decision at that age. I went a completely different route. But so I've got that moment, and another moment happened. I was in Army bomb disposal, and there was a really horrific train wreck with explosions and very dangerous ordnance all over. Some of the rounds were cooking off. I'm wading through this garbage, in front of a great big D9, a great big Caterpillar, as they're shoving stuff in front of us. I mean, this was dangerous, and I'm wading in it up to my knees in garbage and stuff. And, we were out there working basically like 12, 16 hours, and we're cleaning this stuff up and blowing it up in place and different things. And, I was 20 years old, and I was scared shitless I was going to lose both of my legs. If I was, I was praying I'd die instead, but I went to bed that night, and I was trying not to drink, and everybody else was in the bar drinking. And a presence came and took me out of my body. And I was shown like 5 different scenes, and I only remember one of them. And I was very aware. I knew where I was. I was like, I don't like this. I'm not enjoying this. And I was shown a bunch of different scenes that I believe are from past lives to let me know what the heck I was supposed to be doing in this one. And the only one I really remember was leading a bunch of men through some sand, and when you get one of those little Akashic records, I had all the emotions and the thoughts and the physical feelings of that time. I was tired unto death, just tired of war, tired unto death. And that was a lesson I needed to carry into this life. And I'll give you another quick one. I saw a picture. Somebody invited me to a group, and it was Karen. And she said she saw me and knew that she was supposed to invite me to this group. And I saw her picture, and I was just absorbed in it. I remember looking at her. I know this. I know her. How can I know her? Why do I know her? But I'd already had enough experiences in life to know that this was a moment, you know. And then she had a picture of her, looked like a passport photo or something. She looked so young, you know, and it was just beautiful. I'm like, how do I know her? And then later in January of 2021, she told me, "You're going to bring me out to the world." And I'm like, what? You know, heck, I'm retired. I'm in my 70s. I don't know crap about technology. I'm squatted out here in a cornfield, and here we are. Do you understand? That was a moment. And I'll tell you one more, and I'm glad she's in the other room so I won't get smacked in the head. She doesn't like me telling this story. And also when I saw Sohini on screen, I knew her. I'm like, what the heck? But I just knew her. And just like Karen, she knew her too, you know? And I don't need to go. How and why doesn't even matter anymore to me. You know, I'm not into phenomena or psychic stuff. It just doesn't mean anything to me. How am I living today? But the other one happened Labor Day weekend, up in South Bend, Indiana. I'm up in a hill and I'm in a set of cutoffs, and I looked a heck of a lot better than I do now. It was 2001. And I'm up in a hill with some friends, and I've been playing volleyball in a sand pit. I'm covered with sand. I'm sweaty, you know. And this redhead came up this hill at me, and I'm kind of going, whoa. I mean, she just had this figure and everything, and this red hair down, you know, to and past her butt. And I had never been interested in redheads before, and thank God, you know. And anyway, she went down to get a pop, and if anybody has ever read Michael Newton, PhD,
Yeah, I hear that. It took his voice.
and Destiny of Souls, and he's got a lot of these passed on, but I actually had one of those readings not a few years back. But anyway, she was coming back the hill with a Coke, and the sun, this golden sun was behind her. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock or something, you know, it was getting toward, and my God, I was just stunned. I was just completely stunned and just lost, because as she walked up with that golden light behind her, with the sun shining behind her and this figure all outlined and everything. And it was one of those moments that I believe that we're shown some major spiritual touch points before we come in this life. And that was one of them. And I kind of knew it wouldn't be a joyful, happy time all the time. And she and I have been through some rough shit over the last 24 and a half years, but we were supposed to be here. Both of us have had 4 failed marriages, including one to each other. But this was who I was supposed to be with, you know? And yeah. And the same with you, Sohini, if you're in when I said it. When I saw you, I knew you. And I think we have those moments a lot more often than we realize. But there are some that are major like that. It's like, wake up,
Mhm.
Yes.
see where you're at, see what you're doing. So that that's all I wanted to say. Those are some moments that come to mind. Oh, and I actually did a show with a friend of mine. We jumped 25 miles. We did a 25-mile quantum leap, and we actually did a show on it with Karen and Joan. Uh, we appeared instantaneously, and both of us remember exactly where we were and what time it was, and suddenly we're 25 miles down the road. So, and it didn't freak us out is a strange thing, you know. Of course, this guy had so many ODs, you know, he's got frequent flyer miles and the like, you know. So, but those were a few that I was going to share.
That's good.
Wow.
I
Uh,
remember
I
that's a
want to
Mark
say
moment.
something.
Go ahead, Sahini.
Go ahead.
Uh, I feel like Tommy needs to go through PLR because he has so many things from past lives. Uh,
Mhm.
like he said, he felt connected with me, with you, with ABCD, whatever. And Tommy and me, we both share a relationship like Tom and Jerry. He is always after me, and I am always after him. And Tommy, yes, true. I am the listener. I because I am representing the normal people. Someone has to listen, right? Someone has to ask questions. Why this? Why that? So I am doing that part at this group.
Hmm.
Wow.
That's good.
Well
Yeah.
said. Well
Well
said.
said
Well
indeed.
said. Tom,
Thank you
thank you
for
for
sharing,
sharing.
Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
Thank you
that
for
was
powerful.
sharing,
really
Tom.
interesting. I was so
Yeah,
intrigued.
it is. It's very interesting, you know. And I remember that story, Tom, when you shared um about there was a point in time in my life when that was a marked moment when I remember I asked the question, what next? You know, what next? And I remember one morning I was at work and I woke up and the whisper, which Will was talking about, the spiritual voice that we normally get, and it said, it's time to go out into the world, you know. But my next question was, how am I going to do it? Most obviously, that will be the next question. How? Go out into the world, but how? Right? So, but again, we have to listen for guidance because when you get instructions, you have to listen for the guidance because each instruction that is given to us, there is guidance come along with the instructions, right? So when I asked the question, how? I discussed it with Joan, but then I said, how? Then again, information came in. Each day, I normally would post a post on my profile, and people would engage in the post on my profile. So the whisper came in, and they said, you're going to create a group. And when you create the group, go on all of the posts that you post previously and send the group to all the people who commented on the post. So you see how you get the instructions exactly what to do. But many times we don't pay attention because it's so much of noise that we can't hear. And because it's so much of noise, we are not able to follow what is being said. And the next thing too, that while Privati was talking, Suhini was talking, Will and Tom was talking, again, it comes to awareness, alignment, and action. Awareness, alignment, and action. Because when you come to the awareness, you'll start align with the right kind of people. So that's how Tom saw me, because I sent him, because he was one of the persons who used to comment on the post that I normally put up before, and he reached out to me, and then he said to me that we normally do mediumship readings, and I would love to invite you. I said, okay. So I would appear from time to time in different groups on different platforms, and people would ask me questions and I would respond to them. I never use tarot cards. I will just respond. Never. And people used to be so fascinated about it, that how I'm not using a tarot card. And what I'm telling them is the gospel truth, right? But that's alignment. So I aligned with Tom, the vibration aligned with Tom, the frequency aligned with Tom. So Tom bring me into these spaces. So when I got into these spaces, people get to know who Karen Pascal is. So from that, now the foundation started to build. And then I said to Tom in a conversation, I said, Tom, you know what? You want to bring me further out into the world. And he said, I'm from the cornfields, and this, how I don't know this is going to happen. And a whole long story. But all that I said to him, you'll see. And he just shared a story. He is the person who bring me out into the world, and as well as Lady J. So you see alignment, awareness, and action, how it can take you such a far way. But you have to listen, and you have to pay attention, and you have to be intentional with what you are about to do with your life. Be truthful with what you are doing with your life, because those are the steps that are going to take you further in life. Lady J, take the mic.
Wow, this is
very deep.
This is such a deep discussion. I know we're running out of time, and we want to keep the time tight. But spiritual touch point in Mark moment, and there's so many stories to share. But
yeah,
one thing I want to go quickly into is when we had Javits Center, the event in New York City in 2024.
Yeah.
I would classify that as a spiritual moment.
Yeah.
And I would classify that as a Mark moment
Yes,
too.
a lot of touch points.
A spiritual touch point and a Mark moment, because it was powerful. It was powerful. Just how the event happened too, that helped us to be there. That also was a Mark moment.
Yes.
Right. I would classify that as a Mark moment, because when we really called initially to be in that space, it was already booked out. Right. And I know you can relate to that.
Yeah.
It was already booked out because we're already closing up. It was done. The deal was done. And we were asked, okay, well, would you mind us putting your names on here, just in case, for the next event that would be hosted. And what happened is that we said, yes, why not? You can take our information and so on, and you can, when the next event arrive or emerge, you can call us or text us or whatever the case is. And so we rested at that, right? And it was okay. We move forward. We keep doing what we're doing. And surprisingly, there was a phone call. There was a phone call that somebody decided that they no longer want to continue with the event for whatever reason it was. And our name was next in line. And we were chosen, right? We were so surprised. And they said, okay, you guys are interested. There's an opening here. Would you like to join? And we said, yes. And so I would say that was a spiritual touch point. That was a Mark moment. And remember, we were not really, well, you got to say we were prepared, but we were not prepared because we didn't expect, because it was already closed out. So we were not thinking, okay, we're going to get it, but we took inspired action and say, yeah, put our names down and it's fine. And then roll it on from moving on from that moment. We had to get ready. We had to be prepared. And the readiness and the preparation had to be for that moment because it was a 2 days event. And we were so fortunate enough, Tommy Thompson flew into that event as well. And there is where we met Miss Sammy.
And Miss Sammy, yeah.
There is where we met Miss Sammy. And so that was a spiritual touch point and mark moment. And that event, that specific event, because we hosted other events as well, but that specific event, it was a spiritual touch point for us, our sisters, our brother-in-law. I know for Tommy Thompson and for Miss Sammy and for so many other people who were there. Lydia, Saul, Dr. Marcy, Dr. Terrence, and people who just Dr. Jonas as well.
Dr. Jonas as well.
And who just get into these spaces and never met. But that moment, that spiritual touch point and mark moment, we all were able to gather in one space. Yeah. And it was so powerful. And Miss Sammy could say it, Dr. Jonas would say that, and everybody else mentioned, and Tommy Thompson, because we are quite sure that he experienced a touch point and a mark moment in that event as well. Tommy, I don't know if you want to share.
But I'm going to interject here because I remember long before this event, Lady J and I told Tommy, we said, Tom, we're going to meet you in person.
Mm-hmm.
We told Tom, we said, we're going to meet you in person, Tom. We didn't know how it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know anything about that. But we met him in person.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. It was truly, truly amazing.
Privity?
Can I say something to that? I feel just so honored to meet such beautiful souls, vibrating so high. I knew that was like a destined moment. Another wording for spiritual touch point is usually when it falls along with destiny.
Yes.
So when you know, we don't know, we have a timeline that's already pre-written, right? We don't know how it's going to play out, but we know that there's some destined moments that's going to happen in that timeline, in that lifetime. And we're going to meet some people that are called, quote unquote, your soul tribe. And when you get to meet your soul tribe, you have to be in that space of alignment. You have to create that space first. That means you have to evacuate all the things that are not working, create that space, and then that allows you to invite your soul tribe to enter. And when you least expect it, and you create that space without having any knowledge of what the outcome could be, then you get to invite your soul tribe to enter. And that's when it comes in that aligned space. And so I was so drawn to your table, not because of what you did or where you're from or what you look like or what you represented. I just knew that there was something very spiritual that was going to happen at that point. I just knew it. And you call it intuition, call it what you want. There's just fated moments that are meant to happen so that you can get to another level. And you meet those fated encounters at certain points in your life, and you just know it's never going to be the same again. I wanted to just, if I have a little bit of time, I want to leave your audience with just a few things. It's a few little nuggets, okay? That I'm gonna just read out a little bit. We talked about when Suhani was asking me, what is that? I'm just going to review that, like the rock bottom, the unprocessed trauma. These are the epiphanies, the fated encounters. All these are spiritual touch points, right? I want to ask your audience if you've ever considered, who am I, right? Who am I? Because when you have these spiritual touch points, you're wondering that question. You're in that crisis. When you say, who am I? It's an opportunity for you to when we remove this meat body, and we remove this body that we have, and we remove the color of our skin, and we remove everything about us, what in this body, since we are the living and breathing image of the divine, the soul light body, when you rip this meat off in the skin, that soul light body, you have to figure out who that is, because society, the minute you're born into a culture, into a religion, into a specific area and land, in a specific class high class, low class, whatever, rich or poor, you get all these attachments that start to reprogram on top of you, these layers of the onion, right? And what you want to do is, in these spiritual touch points, whenever it's happening and however it's happening, you want to realize, oh, who am I outside of all of the onion layer? And so when you're removing that and you say, okay, who am I? A lot of people get, so when I ask that question to somebody, they may tell me about their career and their children and their wife and their husband. That's added onion layers. Nobody's, that's not who you are. So you are the soul light being, and what is the impact that you're going to leave? So it's an opportunity for reset. And what you want to do is, what is your passions that's in congruence and resonance?
Right.
And what you want to do is audit your confirmation biases.
Right. Right.
When you're in that spiritual touch point, you want to start to audit your confirmation biases, because if your old story and old narrative and old life has certain confirmation biases that don't align with your new life, you have to audit those biases, because if you don't, you're going to just repeat the same loop cycle.
Over and over.
So what you want to do is, this is what I wrote when these beautiful souls are talking. I wanted you guys to audit your confirmation biases and understand what's your new resonance. What is your new congruence? What is your passions in congruence and your resonance in your soul light being, in your highest potential? Some people call it your highest self. Some people call it your highest timeline. Some people call it, what are you aligning yourself to, right? And so when you hear that third voice that Mr. Will and Mr. Tom was talking about, that inner voice, it gets to develop because it starts to see that you are interested in growth. So that inner voice will start to talk to you. How will that talk to you? When you take a 3-day weekend, instead of going off with your wife or your husband or any loved ones, take it for yourself for a moment. It's okay to unplug. It's okay, even if it's one day that you can afford to do it, 24 hours, even if it's 48 hours, even better. But what you want to do is take that moment, and you're going to hear your inner voice. Get out of the environment that you are in, because what your environment makes you sick, or the environment made you decide to write a new story, it means that you need to unplug from your environment. So take a trip to maybe the cornfields. I'm just joking, but you get the idea. maybe you need to go for a hike on top of the mountains to see what happens. Maybe you need to go for a run for a little while and let your thoughts run amok, and then start to see what starts to submerge. Because in nature, it will submerge. Because God will now use that spiritual touch point. When you decide to exit from your current environment, he's going to speak to you in some way, shape, or form. If you think it's still silent, and let's say your nervous system, now a lot of people are doing a lot of work now in your nervous system. That's huge studies right now that's happening, if anyone's paying attention. Your nervous system regulation, whether it's a male or a female, the more regulated we are, the better we show up. And the nature has all the downloads and the insights and everything waiting for you. All you have to do is show up. That's all you have to do. And people may say, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to hear this. I don't know what the voice sounds like." No. God will speak through people. God will speak. Start watching on every event that starts to unfold. You see how Miss Joan was explaining so beautifully about the event and how it unfolded, and when you least expect it. No. So when you show up and you train your mind, then events start to naturally unfold. It will naturally unfold. So what you want to do, that's how you're going to hear the inner voice. And when you come back from your 3-day or your week unplug, then you're going to get all the answers to that environment. And then you get to replenish that environment. The same sick environment that was toxic, you get to have use those actionable insights that came to you on that spiritual touch point. So I want to say this. Another thing is failure, rejection, resentment. All of these are spiritual touch points. When I had the most failure, when I had rejection to me, when am I filling my cup in resentment? When am I having unprocessed trauma? When am I reaching rock bottom? What that does to you is I'm sorry, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts here because there's so much to say. So what we want to do is remove all the labels, everything that's been told to us, all the environment and everything. And when you take that weekend for yourself, ask Christ to embody you with truth, because we are a walking church. If we embody God and we are his image, you want to embody the lightness of being. What does that mean? We are not our skin and our body. We are just walking souls, and you want to stay in light. So the embodiment of real church is actually being the church by being and embodying all these beautiful values, right? So resentment, rejection will lead you to the redirection if you allow yourself to do that. If you stay in resonance, you have to give yourself reception.
Yes.
If giving you the information, how can you receive if your receptivity is completely blocked?
Exactly.
Yes.
You will not be, if you're in the same environment that blocked you, you cannot receive anything. That's not going to happen. You have to go in a different environment. That could be in a church. That could be in a different place. Just go out in somewhere that you've never done before. Start to challenge yourself. Be in a different space. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be, it could be that, okay, you're in the same state. You've never, let's say you're in Ohio and you decided to go from the city to not the city, to the suburbs, or to somewhere that's more nature-esque. Nature is going to teach you everything you need to know. And then when you're done and you do that little unnoise and you remove the white noise from the environment and you go into a different environment, then I would challenge you to do a social experiment with your new revamped self. When you do that social experiment, explore what that new normal looks like and see how your new narrative is going to start to unfold as you give that chance. And what I would like to lastly add, I'm sorry, guys. Time is a human construct. Mr. Will has mentioned this already, and I'm going to remind everybody, okay? When we go up in this universe, and you hear this all the time with past life regression, people who have near-death experiences are called NDEs. Time is a human construct. So past, present, and future are all one. So what you choose to do in this moment will undoubtedly affect your gene code, your gene expression, your children, every person you come into contact with, everything that you do, it will be that new vibration. But you got to go in hermit mode and do that work. And sometimes it means that your starting point from that spiritual touch point is that weekend away from that sick environment that made you sick. And then when you start to do that touch point, then you take it where the shadow work that Carl Jung, what we just talked about earlier. And then you take it, and that might take a few months. Give yourself grace. That might take you some time to show up as that new self. But I just wanted to leave your audience with a few things to work on, and how do you recognize it? And when it shows up as rejection, as resentment, as unprocessed trauma, your rock bottom moments, all these things are spiritual touch points. Fated meetings, destined meetings, like these beautiful souls. All these are spiritual and fated and destined moments. And you can use that as a launch pad. For your awakening as stepping stones.
Wow. Well said.
Well said. Becky,
well said. You know,
amazing.
When you was touching on take weekends off and for yourself and do things for yourself, you know what came to mind? what came to mind is creating intentional marked moments.
Yes.
Creating intentional marked moments. And that is what we
That's a
need
good
to do
one.
for
Yeah.
ourselves, you know, because many times we are not creating those moments for ourselves.
No. Because you're in the flow of like everyday life and you're just forgetting. And we forget. We're forgetful creatures. We're meant to forget,
Absolutely.
but we're also in charge of remembering who we are.
Absolutely.
Right. And that can embody also self-care.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the
Absolutely.
whole point.
Absolutely.
I encourage all your audience to read your books because there are so many, there's different levels to this. And self-care is your first level of stepping out of self-sabotage behavior.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So create your intentional moments. And
Yes.
when you start to create those moments, you'll start to align and you will start to understand, because when you're creating those moments now, you're doing the action, you're doing the inspired action, and that is what is going to align you and help you to come to that place of awareness.
And I
Because
want
it's
to add that this thing is individual. You don't
Absolutely.
By
want to do this
individuality.
with a friend. You don't want to. This is when you come back now and you get the opportunity away from that individual moment and you come back to your environment. Then you can regroup and do the social experiment I spoke about with your friends, and you can interplay with that new vision of yourself. But when you're doing this solo moment and this intentional moment that Ms. Karen is talking about, this is individual. This is between you and source.
Yes.
This has to be done a certain way. It must be done solitarily, like how Mr. Tom went on that hike. It's solitary. He wasn't with anybody, but something showed up when he was prepared, when God knew he was ready. So this is usually, if we know about these spiritual touch points, one's greatest indicator, it's individual.
Yes, it is. Wow.
Individual.
Well,
This was so good.
Yeah,
So good.
that was good. That was really good. Can you hear me?
yes,
We
we
can hear
hear
you.
you.
Yes,
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure my earphones were dead. Okay. Look, I like what she just said. She touched on a lot of good things there. You know, one of the things that I'm doing for 2026 is speaking. When I speak to the context of what I'm talking about. And so I figured this year, especially as we're trying to make this transition, and we're going to, as a society, make it. But I think that as I speak, I wanted to give more context to what I'm speaking about. You know,
Yes.
like I want people to have resolution to whatever their issue is, to try to figure it out. Now, it's not for me to decide what that answer should be for them, but I contribute you to try to take the march to try to find out what your solution should be. And so I think that a lot of what we discussed tonight covered all of those bases, you know, because when we talk about when I mentioned, you know, the time collapse thing, people don't usually think in that context because they don't think that's possible. But like I mentioned, if you believe in the God of the Bible and time collapse is written in the Bible, then you have to decide kind of what your faith really is. Because if you can't believe that you can collapse time, then how can you believe anything else that you supposedly know from that book? You see, the Bible will put you in a contradiction because it contradicts itself throughout the Bible. So you have to actually read it to understand what is actually being said and not be caught up in the I'm going to get punished or God didn't like me doing this or he's going to do that for me and not do this for me. And when time comes, like you hear women a lot say that they're waiting on God to bring them their man, right? They're their lifetime partner. They're waiting on God to deliver that partner to them. Now, as you ladies, all three of you guys, and Tommy mentioned this too, if you wait, it's not going to happen. You have to make some moves in order to run into that person. That's the only way you're going to meet them. If you're sitting around in the church and you're waiting at home and you prayed up and did all your little, blessed day things, and you can't meet that person because you're not in the same environment as that person will be in. They're going to meet you, but you have to put yourself in their space that they will actually cross your path. If you don't do that, then you still be sitting around talking about, I'm waiting on God to send me my man. Okay, let's see how that works out 10 years from now. You're still waiting. Because you will be waiting. And you'll meet somebody, and you'll probably throw a tag on them and God finally sent me somebody. So that won't be the person because you're not in the right spaces to meet that person.
Absolutely.
You have to be where the person is going to be. But again, if you read your Bible and you actually be into that faith, that's what you say you are about, then you have to read it to really understand what it actually is and what you can actually do with it. And once you do those things and you tap into what you can actually do with it, now you become what the burning bush told Moses who it was, right? When Moses asked the burning bush, who shall I say you are if I go down here and tell these people who am I talking to? And what did the burning bush tell them? This is the only name that the deity ever really uses. Now people came up with all these other 100 other names for Jehovah and all these other names, right? It says I am. Now John and I use that I am a lot when we're doing these shows together.
Yes.
I speak in the context of I am all the time because what comes after that I am, that's what you are.
Yeah.
But if you don't proclaim yourself that I am, and then whatever it is you're going to speak after that, you can't become whatever it is. You can't.
True. So true.
If the burning bush told Moses that I am, and then he didn't say anything after that, but I am that I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's it. You everything. You embrace it. You accomplish it all. So if like Timothy was saying there, if you embrace and find out who you are, you're gonna say I am. And most people say that before they say anything else. When people just have a general conversation, they'll say I am, but they never stop to think what they're saying after they say that I am.
Right.
They
Yes.
never stop to think about that.
So
But that's
true.
how important that I am is. It has power. And once you proclaim that power, you become what I am is. And once you walk in that energy, there's nothing that's impossible for you. Nothing.
So true.
Tommy just told you everything. He ran into his wife and he knew who she was when he ran into her. But he had already proclaimed that I am, so he knew what she's supposed to look like and who she's supposed to be when all he saw was a silhouette. He knew. That's the one. I already got that. And here's the thing about that, and then I will shut up, lady.
I want to add one little thing and say that we are the architect of our reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Want to do essentially this podcast is you have to be an active participant in co-creating with the divine in your reality.
That's right. Absolutely.
You are the creator.
People have problem and trouble giving themselves unconditional love. They just can't do it for whatever reason. But here's something I try to tell people all the time. If you can love you unconditionally, if you can do this, you've already experienced the greatest love that ever walked the face of the earth. So guess what? Everything else that you encounter from that will be unconditionally loved back to you. You're mirroring yourself. And everybody that you've ever met is a portion of you anyway. The good and the bad. Everybody you encounter is you. So how will you treat you when you meet them? Like I think a couple of people said something about meeting strangers on the street and people, kind of shy away from talking to them because they may be dirty or something. That's a portion of you too, though. So you're greeting yourself, but you're so ashamed of yourself, you won't even greet yourself. No, I can't. No. But that's you. So this stuff is deep, but at the same time, you can embrace it and find yourself in it And once you can do that, life becomes so much easier for you. It really does, because all the troubles and strife that you have and endure and go through, that part has to happen to some degree because it helps you grow. Okay?
Right.
But it's not something that lingers with you forever. You create, as you just said, you create the atmosphere or the environment for that to stay with you moving forward. It's going to be there for a while, sure. But if you don't embrace that and say, this is all that I am at this point, you can come back.
Mhm.
But you are waiting on you to do that. Nobody else is waiting on you to do it. You know, this week I had I went through the flu, right? And this particular version of the flu is I wouldn't want anybody else to have it. I mean, I know it's a rough winter and people are catching it all over the place. But it's tough. But I learned a little bit of something in my downtime, because I didn't have a voice, so to speak. So I stayed off the phone, didn't really talk to people that much, and just kind of rested and healed. But in the process of doing that healing, I learned something. And that something was that this year, right now, rather, at this moment in time, that I experienced that, it slowed me down, because I had a goal that I said I wanted to obtain for this year, 2026, right? I said it's something I wanted to really do, but it wasn't for me necessarily, though, right? And it has to do with money. I set a goal for myself to make a certain amount of money for this year. But what I said I wanted to do with that money was not for me to buy more material things. I wanted to help more shelters for people and
Yes.
animals. That kind of thing. That's what
Yes.
I want to do with the money. So I'm not making the money for me. So when I got sick, and it just came up and hit me all of a sudden from seemed like nowhere, right? I realized, I said to myself that I can't get sick now. This is not part of the journey for this year. I can't get sick. I can't. By the third day, I wasn't even moving around. So it made me take a second look at what I said I wanted to do with this money and why I wanted to do that. And what I realized is that I can already do those things right now. I just need to adjust my schedule a little bit better.
Right.
Right.
Take more of the money that I already have and spread that out more.
Yes.
I don't have to wait till the end of the year to start giving that kind of money around to different groups and organizations. I can do that right now.
Mhm.
And so it made me rethink my whole process of things I had been doing and the way I've been doing it. It made me rethink that. And so I did learn something that I needed to pick up to take forward with me for this year, you know? So this show here is the first time I've actually done a show for 2026.
Thank you.
I was
Welcome.
asked to be on shows where, this was last month too. I was asked to be on a show, but we could never coordinate the time because they were in India, and so we were trying to work out the time span to make it work, right? But we could never line up the time to make it work. But I'm glad that this was the first show I did for this year, and the topic of it, because this is something that, as I said, I've already been on different platforms and listened to people talk about this very subject, but not the way we just discussed it.
So true.
So, the audience should take away some point of a moment here for themselves that they can utilize and take forward with them. And I'm going to say this, and I'm done for it. Whatever you make your resolution for 2026, it can happen. Now, in some cases, people are still losing their jobs because we have a terrible economy and it's not getting any better, and things are just not. This switching is pushing everybody to the brinks, right? But in that, there are things that you can do to adjust
Mhm.
the way you used to do things, and you'll find your way forward. That's all I want to leave you with is there are new things that you can do
New
that's
things you
going to
can
help you
adjust.
find your way forward. And you don't even have to work as hard as you probably have been doing. Because if you take just a little bit of your money and invest it, that money will work for you. And remember, money is not real; it's a spirit. They print it. So if you can create money and print it up, that lets you know that it's not real. Gold and silver is real things, right? But paper money is just that, paper money. It's only real because you've been told it's real and you accept it as being real. So that's what I'm trying to tell you is with that same mindset, whatever you decide you think you want to do this year, you can make that happen. So I expect you to watch this show when you get a chance to see what Karen and John have up to, because it's going to keep you moving forward and take that information and tap it into whatever you're doing and utilize it and keep yourself going forward and do what you think you're capable of doing. You have
I
time
want
to
to
do
just
that. Go ahead.
I want to just say one little thing. You're right with the currency of money. It's a spiritual currency. So when you're in alignment, that currency is just going to flow because you're in the flow. So the money will come because you're already in the flow.
Yes.
That's what real money is. It's a currency,
Yes.
and you have to respect abundance before
Right.
before abundance will. And
Of
you
course.
also have to leave the scarcity mindset in order to enter an abundance timeline. So that's number one. And one more thing I will share because Miss Karen and Joan, I usually speak to them before our podcast, and something came up, and I think I want to share that with your audience because we're approaching that season very soon. One thing I want to say is that we don't have to wait for a new year or
Sure.
wait for a season where it's Lent season for us to practice fasting. When you're
Sure.
in the spiritual touch point, you want to explore what real fasting is when you're having that spiritual touch point or that epiphany or that download or whatever insight is that you're getting. If you want to get more information aside from the other practices we've mentioned in this podcast, I would highly recommend your audience, even if it's a 3-day fast, that could be no meat, that can be no, that can be no, just fruits, like just fruits and water. That could be a water fast. Everyone's different. So whatever your levels of what your body needs, this is not medical advice, but this is just whatever you guys deem as fasting, or maybe it means omitting something that you always eat all the time and say, God, this is my way of participating in Lent season. But my idea is not to wait for Lent season. You can have a Lent season at any point in the year.
So
You
true.
can do it before the end of the year. You can do it at the beginning, and you could do it at you know how we have quarters, right? We have quarter 1, 2, and 3. Every quarter you should be doing one type of fast, I would recommend. And why? Because we're accumulating so much. And when you do that fast, even if it's 2 days or a day, it clears your channel. And then you get to understand what's next.
So true.
So I'll leave that on the table as something that we were talking about that. And because Lent season is coming up, I thought that would be fitting.
We are in Lent season right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, we are in Lent
We
season.
start since the 18th.
Sorry. So that's more befitting because it's
Yes, exactly.
Very perfect.
Very perfect.
Very perfect.
Tom?
I'm just have really enjoyed listening here tonight. One of the things I didn't tell, and she's not behind me, so I'm safe. As soon as she saw me watching her, she started strutting, man. Them hips were going. And she said, I did not. And I'm like, you lie. And I tell that story if I'm talking before a group, before a 12-step group, because I've got 28 years. She's got 32. Free of the substances. When somebody was talking about, Ms. Sammy was talking about, addiction. Yeah, we lived that life. I went into something dark when I was around 15, and I didn't come out of it, even begin to come out of it till I was 46.
okay.
And, well, it was the path I took.
Mhm.
And the worst moments in my life are now medicine to help heal others.
Wow.
Yes.
The alchemy.
The,
You
Yes.
That's the alchemy.
the, me-
You
Alchemy.
said it.
Yes.
alchemize
the
into you.
mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
all the addiction, all
Mm-hmm.
the failure and the different careers, I tried,
Mm-hmm.
nothing worked. And it was to bring us here to this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
Diana and I had so much heartbreak, but if all those things had not happened, we wouldn't be here together now.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and that's where you
That's right. Amen
start,
to that.
you start realizing and understanding that you've got a higher guidance no matter what
Yes.
the outcomes are
Yes.
in point.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
I'll be 75 here in 10 days or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Happy early birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Diana and I are both like, man, we didn't plan on living this long. But, here we are,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm grateful. And most of my life, I was unhappy to be alive, and I am not alone. And I think in his own way, Will addressed that when he was talking
Mm-hmm.
today,
Mm-hmm.
where you're totally unaware and you're not even, I wasn't even in contact with the world,
Yeah.
for a good portion of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful that I met you ladies and yeah.
I'm grateful.
But I'm going to say
We're
out
grateful
loud
too.
what you two ladies were doing. And what was happening is we had a bunch of people, Lydia and gosh, Matt, the guy from England, God, is he a
Dr.
character?
Jonas.
Dr. Jonas,
Jonas.
Terrence
Jackson.
Johnson,
They weren't there when I was there, yeah. And
Dr. Marcia.
Dr.
Soul.
Marcia, Dr. T, Soul showed up
Mhm.
and about squeezed me to death. She'd been on the show here. But anyway, I would watch you two ladies, and Joan before didn't talk a whole lot on the shows. She's very quiet usually, and
You don't
she
know.
would wade into this crowd, and
You do not
I've
know.
heard her boss Karen around backstage many a time, but I watched them. And people would come to them, a group of father and son, brothers and sisters, different people, different couples would just be drawn to them. And you'd watch them. And
They're like magnets. They're beautiful.
it was. And they're even more beautiful in person than they are here. And they would have their hand on their arm, or they would be holding their hand. Then they would have their arm around them. Then they would be holding them, not hugging them, holding them. There's a difference. And a lot of times they left with tears, but something changed for them in that time. And they met so many people there, like you, I guess, although I don't remember seeing you. They
That's
met
okay.
many
I wasn't in
people
your
there.
past life, but I'm here now.
Yeah. But
Good one. Good one,
I
Miss
like
Sammy.
that.
Good one, Miss Sammy.
But anyway, yeah, they touched so many lives there, and so many people they met there have been on the show, and they had an event where they had so many people that they met there up on stage who've been on the show and were up on stage. You had that event, remember? I don't remember what you called it, but it
With the monk.
The monk.
with the monks, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monk
And-
Banti. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just had a group of monks, do that walk across the United States.
So
And what
beautiful.
I cried almost every
Me
time I
too.
saw them
Me too.
because you would see these great big tough like truckers and stuff would be there, great big guys, and you could tell they were, and they were just weeping as they walked by. You saw so many people that were impacted, and if they did had a drone up in the air or something, you would find going through places like South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, you would see 1,000 people in the cities following them across on bridges.
Yeah.
And they would feed them. They would go and they would feed them, and because they're walking for miles without food
Yes.
and
Oh yeah,
supplies and materials, and
Mm-hmm.
random strangers would just give everything they need to keep trudging because of the purpose of their walk.
Yes.
You
Stephen,
leave the
who's
monasteries, you know something's up because
yeah,
Yes.
you know you're trying to shift the planet into more peace.
oh yeah, and
Yes.
also Stephen was one of them. They went, Stephen went very
Yes.
close.
Mhm.
They were just like a mile down the road, and he went and gave him dried fruit and some other
Yeah.
stuff.
Beautiful.
Nice.
And he actually posted pictures and
Those are marked
group of it.
moments.
So
Yes, they are.
yeah,
Yes.
so
In history.
yeah,
Mhm.
and the thing is they kept humility and they were hurting.
Yes.
And what I love is they're going through deep parts of the South. The
Yes.
police are escorting them and meeting them and showing them deep respect.
Mhm.
I mean, through South Carolina, where I first picked it up, North Carolina, into Virginia, it was just the
I even
respect.
saw a stray dog. They had a dog on there.
Oh yeah, Anaka. Yeah, and they had
Mhm.
done another walk of a bunch of kilometers in India where they found the dog. So that soul was attracted to them and
Yeah.
attached to them.
Yes.
And my God, they're down in like Dallas, Texas, or Fort Worth, I think,
Yes.
somewhere where their monastery's at. I mean, how in the heck are you going to have something like that there? But that just goes to show you that the news presents us as
Exactly.
demographics.
Mhm.
Heck, I spent a bunch of years in the Army, but
Mhm.
I am, and I guarantee you it impacted my worldview with some of the things I experienced and some of the
Yeah.
things I had to do and everything. But, we're not a demographic. We're each individual soul, spirit,
Higher
Yes.
path.
individuality.
Yes.
And when you understand it, I've been the villain in a lot of stories through my life. And you realize that we're all in these tracks, and every one of your guests said that we're on our own life paths.
Yes.
We are.
And when you understand that, and if you believe like I believe about having been in past lives, we've all played these roles. And as someone said, we're beyond time.
Beyond
It's
time
a
and
human.
space.
It's a human construct.
It is.
Mhm.
Human construct.
Wow.
It's the human
Well
concept.
said. Well said, Tom.
Wow.
Lady J?
You know, this was so powerful, and that we're gonna have to do a part two sometime. But I want to share something before we conclude. That I think also, and I know Karen agrees as well, that mark moments and spiritual touch point can be shared, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a client that we're coaching, right, and she's experiencing it, and as she being transformed, her family is being transformed as well.
Mhm.
So simultaneously, mark moments and spiritual touch point is experiencing with her and with her family and everyone by itself. And we had the pleasure of meeting her last evening,
The
right?
sister.
And the sister of the person, right? From the time she saw us and we had the encounter, it was tears.
She burst into tears.
No words was spoken. She just held on to us, and the tears were just flowing like a fountain. It wasn't her, but she experienced what her sister is receiving, right? And what her sister's expressing, and they're seeing the transformation of her sister. That tells it all. So I would, and Karen would
That's a
consider
mark
that
moment.
it's a mark moment and it's a spiritual touch point.
Yes.
So
Didn't you have a woman who came to you with that had a broken relationship with her sister for over 10 years, and you told her to go to her, and it was healed, and she cried, and
She came back the next. That was
I came back the next day. I
exactly.
remember
She
that.
came back the next day and she said to me, she said, you really don't know what you have done for me. Yeah. Those are marked moments,
those
And
stories.
yeah. And
You-
we fail to realize these moments in our lives, We can say a word to someone and it could touch them so deep. That is why we have to be careful what we are saying, what we are speaking each and every day, the words that is coming out from our mouth. Because the words that we speak, it is so touching to people's lives.
Your tongue.
That's why you have to watch your tongue when you.
Your tongue.
Absolutely,
Your tongue.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because your tongue casts spells based on your
Of course,
vibration.
of course.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Wow.
So I think one of the things we could say to people tonight, as whatever time they're watching, be careful what you say from this moment forward. And every time you encounter someone, just give a kind word.
Yep.
Show love, compassion, and show grace.
Yes, show grace. And show grace to yourself as well. That is very important to show yourself grace as well. Grace and compassion, show yourself that. And love yourself.
Stay rooted in self-love.
There's only you. There's only one of you.
Right.
As Dr. Jones would say, they can't duplicate your fingerprint. There's
Right.
only you,
Right,
you know?
right.
So embrace you, embody you,
Love you.
and love you. This was such a beautiful
Wow.
discussion, this evening. And we're gonna have so many more touching moments as we go along in 2026,
And
because
beyond.
we this year, myself and Lady J, we really want to be intentional about these shows, because we want to help people to experience transformation. We want to take you on a journey within. It's going within. So you can go within and you can experience that transformation you need to go through in order to find your purpose, to find your way. Because many times we are searching and we're searching, but we can't find. But what we are searching for is within.
All the time.
We gotta go within ourselves. And as Privity and Will and Sohini and Tom beautifully explain, it's to help us to understand that the journey is within. And it comes with awareness and alignment and action. Because the action
That's it.
is where you get the results.
Correct.
We can't do it no other way, because many times we want to run around. But you got to put in the action. You got to put in the work in order to see the revolution. It's a revolution.
Implementation.
Yeah, exactly. Implementation. So we have to do it, and we have to be disciplined and be intentional in what we are doing. So this evening, we just want to thank you in whatever platform that you joined us this evening. We want to thank you for all your comments, because they're beautiful comments. And just know that we are here for you. We are here for you. You can send us a message if you have a question to ask. If you would like to participate and be a guest on the podcast, just let us know, and you can be a guest on the podcast to share your point of view as well. Because we only spreading positivity.
Right. And connect with all our guests.
We are only spreading positivity. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul Light and Body YouTube channel, that you will never miss none of these inspiring, motivational, transformational episodes. Privity, thank you so much for being here today. Will,
Thank you so
much. Sohini, thank you so much. Tom, our special guest and the man behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, because we all are musical instruments. Each one of us come with our own chords, and we entwine and we play the music. So that is how it could be so beautifully executed. So we just want to thank you so much for appearing and on this podcast and helping individuals to understand that, you know what, your spiritual touch points and mark moments, you can create it. And you must be able to recognize when you are going through a spiritual touch point and when there are mark moments. You come to that place of awareness so you can understand when you're going through all of these beautiful moments. So until next time, stay motivated, continue to believe in yourself, continue to know that you are enough, you're special, you're one of a kind. And don't forget, we got our masterclass coming up. And we're going to, during this week that is coming up, we're going to share some more on the masterclass. We're going to roll out some stuff. It's going to be an amazing masterclass. You got to be a part of that space. You got to be a
come in
part
and get
of
the
that
experience.
space. Yes, it's going to be truly amazing. So have a wonderful day or evening, which part of the world that you are. Thank you so much again for joining us. We're getting a lot of snow here, Tom. What about you?
We've had more snow here. You know, we live about 75 miles south of Lake Michigan. We've had more snow here this year, and we've got 2 or 3 years combined.
Yes.
And it's snowing out there right now. But you
it's
guys
snowing
are
outside
really
here right now.
getting,
We're getting hard hit.
yeah, like Christine in Connecticut. She says you guys have really been getting hit.
We're getting hit real heavy. But you know what?
Chalk it up to Mark moments.
It's Mark moments.
Absolutely.
It gives you that time to go within, doesn't it?
That's it. That's it. Let that be some part of your spiritual touch point.
You know, before we go off from here, you know, sometimes these things happen in life. Is to, as Privity rightfully said just now, these things happen in life to keep us in
That's
home,
what it is.
you know, and help us now to create a space for ourselves now to go within, as Privity rightfully said there just now. So everything that is happening in life is happening
For you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
And especially when you have moments like this and topics like this and podcasts would make you think.
Yes.
And identify what are your Mark moments?
Yes.
What are your spiritual touch points?
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.